Good afternoon, folks. Zach Cross, Yuba Activist and Adventure Network here. So today, I'm basically going to tell you a story that happened to me November 30th, 2023. I've been being quiet, as professional as possible about my victimization that night, out of respect for the court system, in particular the judges and my own attorney. But recently, the district attorney's office is taking a move in bad faith. And pretty much I think I could possibly die, as that almost happened somewhere around the 2nd of December last year. The last time, and first time in 17 years, I was in custody. So, pretty much I've got nothing to lose if I'm dead, and nothing to lose since the DA seems to want to take and make a bad faith choice against me. So here we go. On the night of November 30th, I had taken Wild Bill. Many of you know. He had basically had to have a huge piece of skin cancer removed, and then I took him over to Mather VA to get some glasses. I come home. On my way home, I text my girlfriend at the time, Rachel, "Hey, I'm coming home. Please unlock the gate." The gate. Because, it's Marysville. We've got some of the highest crime rates per, number of citizens in the state of California. For our town size, pretty pathetic. So, she comes out. We're big on safety. And gentleman number one, where I've represented with the shovel, is right there and makes a move on the gate, according to her. At least that's where he was when I made it home. I was in Taco Bell drive-thru, I didn't feel like cooking. So she calls me up and she tells me gentleman number one attacked the gate and came at her when she tried to unlock it. Freaked out. I'm halfway through the drive-through line, already had just ordered, and I'm 2 cars away from the drive-through window here in Marysville. I tell her, well, I'm stuck in the drive-through. There's really nothing I can do about it right now. Call the cops. A couple of seconds later, a couple of minutes, at this point, I'm sitting at the drive-through window. This is nothing new. I mean, you guys can watch it. I got attacked by a homeless right there. Enter When Homeless Attack into my YouTube channel and you'll see it. I didn't do nothing to them. I just recorded, and somebody called the cops for me, thankfully. We know on the other side of the building over there, they tried to set an adjacent fence on fire. That's on the YouTube channel. So this is not uncommon, trying to break into buildings, museum, that's on YouTube, all kinds of stuff. We know this corner was exceptionally out of control. I mean, we can tell that the criminals have no faith in Chief Sachs, as they socked the mayor in the back of the head and another councilman just a couple of days ago right in front of the chief, and it was the councilman who chased the guy down and tackled him for the arrest. So they've got no respect for the police here, no fear. They know these guys are as crooked as them. So what happens next is I get a text message. Hey, there's a second guy who I've now instituted with the rake. Roughly right there. Could have been right there where that black spot is. A little while ago. At least that's where they were there when I came home. So, oh, by the way, according to the crooked cop, Sachs, who showed up here, and a few officers who've been fired since formal complaints were filed by myself and at that time girlfriend. I don't know if that's why they left or terminated, but we've lost 7 cities employees, and about half of them were cops, and some were the cops here that night, being extra abrasive and abusive and rough because they don't like me exercising my First Amendment rights and showing their incompetence and laziness, and that they're just as crooked as Joe Biden or Kamala Harris. So, I mean, come on. Chief Sachs himself allegedly stood in the way of Yuba City PD serving a warrant on Sarah Easton's husband at the time, who had been murdered, by her chief of police here in Marysville husband. So In any case, I don't want to ramble too much. This is 632 D Street. I know this because I used to live here. Some of you who know Wild Bill know as soon as I moved to town, you know, basically what happened was Chief Sachs tried to get us to stop parking here and harassing the property owner, and could never clean out the people who burned down the place or protected from that. You know, I lived here 20-something years ago. As you can see, there's a driveway that goes right here. I know this because I lived in the studio on the other side of Wild Bill here with some friends, and they would park their car here. I pulled into this driveway many times in their own vehicle, in my people I lived with vehicle, in that studio, one bedroom, whatever the hell kind of apartment. It was odd, you know, it's an old building. Anyway, I'm losing track here. So I race home. Whom, whom, whom. I pull up right there to the stop sign. Man, I am befuddled. Where the fuck are the cops I told her to call? Is this another situation where they didn't show up? Which I've also highlighted on this YouTube channel. I go, what the fuck? I look over and I see these guys. And they go from standing up with Mr. Shovel Guy, fiddling with the gate, to crouching down. Right over here, where the dead spot is on the lawn, is a third guy. And as soon as he sees my car right there, he starts pulling an umbrella pole for like a patio umbrella out of a box. I go, holy shit. This isn't just your average, what do they call themselves? The union, the people who team up with these local liberals and the homeless community to harass people who don't like crime. You know, look, I ain't got no problem with homeless or even drug addicts. I'm a recovered drug addict myself. I've helped a lot of people into recovery, as I myself was helped. But these people seem to be fairly dangerous. So we know this. We've seen highlights of it on my channel. You've seen people like this on social media around here. So I go, holy shit. I peel around this corner and I come in here to this driveway. Now my goal, keep in mind it's November 30th, it's muddy and wet, we had a lot of rain, as you can see here. Until you get some decent compaction and rain where everything settles, it's kind of muddy and slick. This is just out of that little cloudburst we got the other day in August with the 2 inches of rain or whatever it was with the thunderstorm. My goal was to have the ass into my car, butted up against that fence post with the front of the car roughly right in here, where the car could be my shield against this big motherfucker here and this skinnier but also decent sized motherfucker right here, attacking my home, attacking my at the time girlfriend. And where I could easily hop in the car if this crazy motherfucker here with the 10-foot long fucking umbrella pole, excuse my language, this is very, I've been in therapy for this, but this is still a very triggering situation. That night was crazy. I was a victim. I don't like to call myself that, but you know, at the end of the day, on this night, I was a victim. I don't like to think of myself as a victim because I continue to fight back, you know. Anyway, I could jump in my car and use it as a shield while they're breaking the glass or whatever. If that guy comes at me, along with Mr. Shovel and Rake. So, an accident happened. I began to slide out of control. You want to see the damage? Chances are you guys have driven by and seen it and didn't realize. So right here, where the coax cable's broken, and you see these marks, that is the damage from that night. So as I'm sliding in slow motion, as I'm pumping the brakes, I'm doing everything I can to set the ABS, and all of my years of driving skills, oh, there's one of the finest right there. So basically I'm sliding in slow motion and I'm trying to stop, so I roll down my window. At this point, Mr. Shovel's still right there, and in fact, from what I can tell out of my passenger window, he's then towering right there in that corner. Meanwhile, Mr. Rake runs right here, and he's fumbling for a blanket he dropped which had a piece of foil in it and stuff later. That's on my phone. It's in evidence still. And I roll down the window because my Ford emblem is dead center with him at this point in time. I'm sliding this way. I yell, "Get the fuck out of the way! Head that way! I can't stop this bitch!" To Mr. Rake, who runs, doesn't even need to dive or anything, runs and gets all the way to about where that Ford Explorer, tree, and no parking sign is. All right, we'll put Mr. Rake right here. So, right about the time my passenger side tire is right about here, and Mr. Shovel hears that, Mr. Shovel runs full speed to my car. Now, the car has electronic steering, so I couldn't fucking steer the bitch. If I would have been able to steer the bitch instead of the car thinking it was smarter than me, all of this probably could have been avoided from redneck mountain driving experience. Mr. Shovel takes full off from the gate. Now, why he didn't run around that way and to safety over here on 7th, I really don't know. But Mr. Shovel runs into my car. As my wheel hits right here, it catches, and I turn the front fender, passenger side fender, into the building along with the bumper. You can still see all these months later where I traded white paint. Right there is where Mr. Shovel ran into my car. An odd place to hit, right? Right? So I impact here, and that's dented that much. But I'm going slow motion enough for this guy, the rake, to get out of the way. Seems like my story is probably true. Now, I didn't know it at the time, but Mr. Shovel, this shows the total incompetence of our local police force, which I highlighted on social media, perhaps this YouTube channel, but definitely Facebook and Twitter and stuff like that, X, whatever you want to call it, how the cops weren't running warrants on some of these dangerous people. So Mr. Shovel, here, I'm big about picking up tools. Mr. Shovel is laying right there. I roll down my passenger side window, get out and look. He's not under the car or anything. I go, listen, this is a 200-year-old building. I don't know what kind of damage I did to it. I can't see it, but it's a 200-year-old building. I need to back up. Make sure you're out of the way. Holler if I'm going to get close, because I need to know if I have to drag you out of there to safety. And Mr. Shovel goes, oh, okay. Obviously fucking fucked up and panicked from, you know, what happened. So I back up the car and I park it right about here. Mr. Shovel, back to how he was, Mr. Shovel had a warrant for his arrest for not turning himself into the law for a 3-year prison sentence for terrorist threats, false imprisonment, beating his ex-girlfriend, and one other felony, if I remember right, that I can't remember right now. I would find this out after my brief incarceration, before I would get bailed out. Now, Mr. Shovel, I guess, has some sort of hairline fracture on his pelvis or something like that, and he's air flighted out of here. Chief Sachs and the entire police department show up, along with an ambulance and I believe fire, possibly, as I called 911 to get Mr. Shovel help. My goal was to protect my house, as I figured the police hadn't showed up. I didn't know that Rachel hadn't called the cops until after the fact. Something that would cause a rift when we were already having problems after living with her dad, who is much like these Mr. Shovels and Rakes, to be honest, for a long time, was an unmedicated person who needed treatment and not opposed to violence and insanity fucking being displayed on a regular basis. This and what the cops would do that night would cause a unrepairable rift between us. I lost my girlfriend of 10 years to this accident. You know, like I said, we were already having problems. So right here, magically appearing on my record, many of you knew I ran for supervisor. All of a sudden 3 charges are back basically on my record, including my supposedly expunged Prop 36 charges, and according to Sutter County Court, a felony I also got while I was strung out on meth that I had already taken care of with the DOJ. They had about a 5-10 minute conversation with a bunch of supervisors and the window clerk. Nice guy, nice people, and they can't figure out why those are back on, so I've now got to fill out 3 of these. And I had gone to the point in my recovery, 17 years clean, 18 years, February 12th of 2025 coming up from methamphetamine. California Department of Social Services. I used to be approved to take care of extremely disabled adults. One of the hardest things other than a military security clearance to get, actually. I was quite proud of it. Just like running for supervisor, to have my past behind me and to have not returned to that god-awful fucking drug. I was pretty pleased with myself. Now it's all right. They've now pulled my clearances from the California Department of Health Services. Like I said, magically with the DA or the cops doing something, Sutter County charges are back that haven't been there in, I don't know, roughly 17, at least 15 years since I graduated Prop 36. And they're back, and the only thing I can do is go before a judge and pay a paralegal or get rural legal assistance to help me with that. So that's some collateral damage also. Mr. Shovel, man, you know, I heard him so bad, according to the district attorney and the cops, who also want to write this up as the apartment 1 instead of 632D. That a couple of months later, he's out and about running around, and I guess he commits more assault. And I don't know what assault charges have doubled from him being out on his OR and not turning himself into bail, and the new charges, really, because they all run together. But he managed to pick up 12 more assault-based felonies since the night of November 30th accident. Now, I have been praying for him a miraculous healing and also recovery from drugs. And, you know, I didn't have it in mind that he would have a miraculous healing, or I don't know, maybe he's on one hell of a drug to mask the pain. But I can tell you I'm severely disabled. Stenosis, degenerative disc disorder, bulging discs, crushed discs, cracked discs, all kinds of shit. Bone on bone, because I took Dilantin for seizures as a kid. And but my pelvis isn't broken. But I can tell you, just with the stuff I have wrong with me, I don't know how effective I would be in going out and committing 12 assault charges, even on my best day of being disabled. You know, I mean, don't get me wrong, I've got it better than most. I've learned to tolerate pain, and I've got cannabis and, you know, my stuff. But pretty much what's going to happen tomorrow is the DA barely has a case. They lack the camera footage from roughly right about here, where they can see my brake lines, and the only camera I had set up at the time, I've got more now, to basically here is out of their view. Now, they're fabricating a story that I intentionally ran Mr. Shovel over. And I'm not supposed to say this according to my new shrink and my attorneys, but you know me, I tell the truth. So what they're going to try to do is raise the charges tomorrow. I don't know if the judge will let them do it or not. Who knows? Maybe. How important is it to silence me on Sarah Easton and the incompetence of government officials and our high crime rate here in Marysville with Measure C coming? I don't know. These are all questions that I have asked by people who know much more about my case, including Mr. Shovel, than I do, who know me and have been auditing the court system and the police and other stuff since this night. Because pretty much it could be any activist, anybody who speaks up. Maybe you're speaking up about your children and you don't want them to be a transgender person without your consent or notification. Could be any of us, really, at this point. And basically, they're going to try to raise the charges from assault with deadly weapon with a great bodily injury to attempted murder. Now, I can tell you, the only thing going through my mind when I got there and I saw Mr. 10-foot-long umbrella pole, Mr. Shovel fiddling with the gate, and Mr. Crack on Foil, or whatever it was, right here, was fuck. If they jump me and I'm not able to get in that car and get away, what am I going to do with these keys so they don't get in and rape Rachel? That was the only thought on my mind. Try to scare them off, you know, get them out of here. I've scared them off before when the cops didn't show up, different people. So I didn't really want to say anything because I actually like Sheriff Wendell Anderson and I didn't want to bring in problems. But the last time I was incarcerated, my BP got way out of whack because the jail has second-rate or third-rate health care ever since they fired Dr. Cassidy and now pay about or he quit because of their stupidity. I can't remember how it went. But now we pay 3 times more the money for health care, which they all do remotely over telehealth. And it's so bad the grand jury had some findings about it, and it's going to cost us millions of dollars as a county because there was UC Davis and other lawyers showing up while I was incarcerated. So I almost died. I had BP of, like, the bottom number was way over 100. I'd have to go look at some papers I got to document it. But I might die, basically, if they end up raising bail and I'm incarcerated because I can't get the meds I need and that I'm on, because the third-rate medical stuff thinks every inmate basically can just take the shit they want to give them and substandard treatment. So anyway, if I go to jail or I die, I've been putting in public requests for information, doing anything I could do to help my case. And the city of Marysville had till August 8th, they had requested an extension to do it. What you need to do is you need to keep looking. Chief Sachs is already audited. From what I understand, allegedly, he may have thousands of of white-collar crimes totaling a couple $1,000s, a couple thousand years of prison, you know, and you know, equally amounts at $200,000 in fines for each account, which 2,000 or 3,000 of these counts, 1 year in prison and a $1,000 fine. He's been audited. He's a dangerous man, and I think he'll find his way in prison with Aaron Easton at some point, his old boss who murdered his wife, most definitely, probably, allegedly. But if I should die, or even if I don't die, the information they don't want to seem to release is from July of 2014 to July of 2024, how many rapes and murders there were and how many were solved prospectively, and the same thing with robberies and burglaries. I can tell you they've gotten me back some years when Chief Sachs hadn't taken over yet, interestingly enough, and Aaron was still the chief. And it's abysmal then, and we all know how worse the crimes got. So you're going to want to do a public request for information from 2014 to 2024 to show a good span of why the city should focus on crime if they want this tax measure renewed, which they don't technically even have to get renewed until 2026, but they would rather milk you for all the money they can and have 2 tries at it for substandard police protection. If the police would have been doing their job that night and running warrants and watching out for us, especially with a multi-offender like him, who I'm pretty sure they probably all recognize by face based on his 5 different cases, 6 I think now with the new case, of all nothing but assault charges. They would have been running warrants. My house and this accident may have never happened that night. Now this is the part I'm not supposed to say according to my lawyer and my counselor, but it's the truth. If I wanted to hit them, they would have been pegged right there and my car would have fucking eaten that into the oil pan. If I wanted to kill them, they would have been dead, and so would Mr. Umbrella Pole. I didn't set out to hurt anybody that night. I didn't set out to kill anybody that night. I set out to protect my home and my loved ones, where the police of this city of Marysville had failed me time and time again, along with most of you who live here. I set out to be a human being and have a human reaction. And what I've realized from that night is my worst mistake ever is because I speak my opinion and I exercise my rights and I try to be an upstanding citizen and member of the community instead of just shutting up and taking the payout like Marysville, probably the next Crystal City of corruption, I'd be fine. But because I exercise my First Amendment rights and my right to public requests for information and my right to go out and assemble people to make movements happen in this community, I'm not allowed to act like a human being. I'm not allowed any mistakes. I've got the memo. Pray for me. Listen to Lou Benninger, Live with Lou. Listen to No Hostage Radio. If I'm in jail or dead, my friends will probably reach out to him for help, as many of you do. There's only so many of us fighting the good fight. I know it's been a long one. If you'd like to help the cause get bigger, say I live and I don't get incarcerated. While I was in jail, believing I was gonna die, you know, so fucked up I could hardly walk to the medical or back, you know, head pulsating. I felt like I was gonna have a stroke or something, basically beyond the migraines I usually get from the stenosis in the neck. I had an idea come to me to basically start a gardening service, because while I was incarcerated I did nothing but preach recovery to the other inmates in B-Pod. And basically my goal is, I've already started the gardening service. I have a partner who's of like-mindedness and wants to do the same. Pretty much I want to hire reformed drug addicts and battered women as employees through nonprofits. And you know, you can hire me to do your lawn if you want to help. Otherwise, reach out for any other assistance you might be able to offer. Look for Facebook posts on my timeline from my friends. Thank you for listening. Good night.